Joker 2, Folie à Deux, is getting certainly some type of reviews.
It sure is. I'm reserving judgment. I don't always agree with the reviews, so I'm trying to go in with a fresh mind whenever I get around to seeing it. I really want to like it.
So do I, but my understanding is that Todd Phillips didn't even really want to do it. To me, it sounds like it's probably going to be a Gremlins 2 with Joe Dante situation where I'm not trapped in here with you, you're trapped in here with me.
Gotcha. Yeah, the other sequel that he did was not great either. That'd be The Hangover 2.
Oh,
Big drop in quality from the first one. So it wouldn't surprise me if the same is true for Joker, but I love Lady Gaga. I love musicals. I love the first one. Like, the pieces are all there.
and that's the thing too that kind of intrigues me is like, all right, Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar for it, which it was a at least a nomination worthy performance for sure. The first one was a very, very good movie and its exploration of mental health at the very least and outsiders feeling like they don't belong and how mental health plays into that.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like a lot of other people obviously took the wrong things away from it. But again, it's a very good original take on the Joker character. However, I just never felt like it needed a sequel. I'm like, you know what? This is good. You're using the Joker character as like everyone knows who this character is, know what he's about. So let's tell a story by exploring the themes that we should probably be talking about to very specifically the male populace. And from what I've heard, this one, they throw it all out the window. They're just like, no, none of that.
Well, I hope that's not true, but it probably is.
It's okay. Listen, I'll still watch it whenever it comes to streaming, sometime probably within the next 2 weeks.
Probably. Yeah, I've already seen ads for it on digital.
Oh God, no.
Yeah.
But you know what I haven't seen ads for?
Our podcast.
I really haven't, but I think we should get it started. What do you think?
Let's hit it.
Uh,
Oh. Oh. Sorry. A little premature on the hitting there.
yeah, you kind of alienated it, but it's all right. Hit that intro.
Ah! Aliens!
Two friends named Corey and Steve like talking about films and TV. They thought, hey, what if this was a show? That's how we got here, now you know. Wait, what's the name? That sounds terrible, go on. That sounds terrible, go on. We hope you stick around and have some fun right after our intro song. That sounds terrible, go on.
Welcome back, folks, to another fantastic episode of That Sounds Terrible. Go on. I'm your host, Corey.
And I'm Corey's host, Steve.
That's right, Steve. You did host me for a certain period of time, and I thank you for it.
I got you, buddy.
And you know, Steve, I also have to thank you for suggesting that we finally tackle today's film, which is 1979's Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, starring Sigourney Weaver. My God, how could this get any better?
You know, I don't think it can. This, for me at least, is peak horror. I'm very excited that we got to watch it and that we're going to dive into it. Cast is stellar. The effects hold up. Everything is just like wholly its own.
And very minimal plot holes, which is surprising for a sci-fi horror film from 1979.
It also doesn't answer every question that it raises, which I think is a good thing. Leaves a lot of stuff open-ended that, yeah, the sequels and prequels dive into, sure, but if you just take this movie as, like, in a vacuum, the stuff that it leaves to your imagination is just wild.
A vacuum, you say, like in space?
You know, I hear that when you're up there, no one can hear you scream.
That sucks.
Just like a vacuum, and vacuums get all the dirt. And when I'm thinking about getting the dirt, I kind of wonder, don't I know you?
Don't you?
Let's find out.
Let's.
All right, so first question. Aboard the Nostromo, the giant space oil rig, there are, a few amount of humans, but there's also a cat living on there with them. So Corey, if you were working on a space oil rig, what animal would you want to bring with you?
Well, I don't want to just go with cat, because that's too easy, even though it is honestly the best choice.
Probably, yeah.
A dog would be too much. Dog, like you're in the middle of like space mining and the dog starts running around and hits an airlock. You know, those zoomies pop up on you.
Exactly my thoughts.
For some reason, my heart is saying hedgehog. I can't give you a true answer as to why, but I just kind of like the idea of like someone going out and space rigging all day, going back to their bunk and just, cuddling with a little hedgehog.
Oh, I love it. Keep it in a little cage, put it in one of those little hamster balls where they run around.
Yeah, feed it lettuce and get a heat lamp because you need to give them a heat lamp or else they'll die. And the only reason I know about that is I had a friend who had a hedgehog and their sister didn't turn on the heat lamp one time. And yeah,
Oh god. Oh no.
yeah, that was really sad.
Poor little Hedgie.
She'd bring it to school. It was adorable.
Little Hedgie. Oh.
And now that we're on this down note, Steve, what about you?
Yeah, I also agree. Dog would not be a good choice, despite how much I love them, especially wiener dogs. But I think what I would want to bring on a space oil rig would be a sloth. They're super adorable. They just kind of hang out all day. They don't move much. You can just bring it wherever you're going, give it a little something to hang off of, feed it its whatever sloths eat, and yeah, just kind of have a companion there.
Steve, I think the problem is that sloths are well-documented serial killers. If you haven't seen it, there's a biopic that's called Slaughterhouse.
I can't tell if that's real or not. That's amazing.
It's a real film. It's not. It's a real
Oh
film.
my god. And it's about a sloth that's a serial killer?
Yes, that starts like killing teenagers in a house.
Well, that's one more reason to bring it on the space oil rig. Let's go. More bonus for me. Second question. So our beloved Kane, played by John Hurt, does probably the dumbest thing in the movie, which is he walks up to an alien egg, sees that there is something wiggling around in there, quite ferociously, sees it open up, and sticks his face right into it, allowing the facehugger to hug his face. So that gets me wondering, Corey, was there ever a time you did something stupid that got you hurt?
So when I was a little kid, my older brothers, I saw them one day playing with hand sanitizer and fire. And what they were doing was like spelling their names on the tile floor and like lighting it on fire, and like their whole hand would be like inflamed. And naturally, of course, I want to try that.
Of course.
So I covered my hand in hand sanitizer and I lit my hand on fire without realizing that what they actually did was they put petroleum jelly around their hand first and then the hand sanitizer over top so that it wouldn't actually burn them.
Oh no.
I didn't get any like severe burns because it was just such a thin layer. It like extinguished immediately, but that hand still is just a little bit colder than the other one to this day.
Well, I gotta hand it to you. That's one I've never heard before.
I don't talk about it a lot. It really burns me up inside and out.
Well, I'm glad you were able to finger that story for us.
I really just know how to set words ablaze. But Steve, what about you? Have you ever done anything stupid and then you hurt yourself?
Oh, I sure did. I was in 7th grade, and a week before this story takes place, it should be noted that I broke my right pinky playing basketball. Yes, a sport. So I was going sledding with my church youth group. At the sledding park we were going to, there was the main hill everyone was going down, just like your standard sledding hill, snow, not too steep, just kind of run-of-the-mill sledding hill. But then off to the side, there was a much steeper hill, much narrower, and it was basically coated in ice, and there was a jump at the bottom. So my friends and I took it upon ourselves to go down this hill a few times, which we did. Fine, nothing happened. We had inner tubes instead of sleds, and one of the friends had brought along a can of WD-40. So I slathered up the bottom of my inner tube. All right, no, sorry. I had a saucer, but I had broken it because I had gone down the hill too fast. So I borrowed my friend's inner tube, coated with WD-40, held it to my chest, ran, dove down headfirst down this hill, went off the jump, separated from the tube, and then landed on my right hand, breaking both the bones in my right wrist. Just a week after I'd broken that same pinky.
I bet you thought you were slick.
Oh, I sure did.
Did you have to explain to your parents how it happened?
Yep.
The WD-40 and everything?
Yep. WD-40, ice, and gravity. Hell of a combination. And our final question, going once again to our lovely Kane played by John Hurt. The infamous chestbuster scene takes place around the dinner table. So Corey, if you have a chest burster inside you, what meal would you want to have before it jumps out of your chest?
I'm going to give you the joke answer, then I'll give you my real answer. But the joke answer, tuna surprise. And my final words would be That's the surprise?
That's good. That's good.
But for my real answer, my heart says tacos. Because everyone around the table is just going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, he's just got some bad gas. No, it's much worse. Something else is building up within me, all right?
What kind of tacos are we talking here?
We're going to have a whole slew, all right? We're going to have some chicken tacos, soft shell for the chicken tacos, but hard shell, obviously, standard ground chorizo. Gotta have the chorizo.
Gotsta.
With the chorizo, though, it's going to have a pickled red onion.
All right, all right, all right.
And obviously hot sauce, good hot sauce, not that fake hot sauce you hear about on the, hear about on the news.
None of that back alley hot sauce.
Oh no, it's back alley hot sauce.
Oh dear.
Oh yeah, this is the hot sauce that's illegal in like 73 states, which is very surprising because there's only 50.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's that illegal that it's illegal twice.
Beautiful.
But Steve, what about you? What's that final meal before the chestburster makes an appearance?
I would go real lavish, and by lavish I mean the German delicacy Wiener Schnitzel. It is one of the absolute tastiest things on the planet, and I want some spätzle and cooked carrots with that. 'Cause I'll tell you, that is a hell of a combination. If you've never tried it, you sure should ought to. I would die happy. And now I know you.
And I know you. All right, folks, before we move on to our next segment, just a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
That's us falling off a cliff.
All right, folks, I am here at Goblin's Den Tattoo out in the lovely Syracuse, New York, being currently inked by Leah, owner, operator, and a fantastic individual. Leah, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Doing really good, doing good. Am I doing good? Am I sitting good?
Yes.
Excellent, fantastic.
We're both hydrated.
That's the dream. Let's be honest here. So how long have you been tattooing for?
I have been tattooing for technically 5 years.
So tell me, what are your favorite tattoos to both design and put on people's bodies?
I think the biggest thing for me is for someone to be really inspired with their idea, really excited. That's always a plus, and not just like a last 6-second kind of deal. Something that you can think about and be like, yep, this is how we're going to do it, critique it, special, all that jazz. But personally, when it comes to style, my drawing style is preferred anime, but I do like cartoons, I do like spooky, scary stuff. I like plants and stuff. A lot of people come to me for floral. But yeah, so I like more animated stuff that can be stylized. Kind of neo-traditional, but not so out there.
Well, you heard it here, folks. If you're looking for any of those kinds of styles or designs, you know exactly where you need to hit up. But again, that is Goblin's Den Tattoo out in Syracuse, New York. What's the Instagram name?
Instagram name is Goblin's Den Tattoo. Same for Facebook. We're currently adjusting our social medias and getting them more active. So Instagram, Goblin's Den Tattoo. Facebook, Goblin's Den Tattoo. And my name is Leah Tran, if you're trying to look for me personally. We also have another artist, Sid, and Sid is also on there as well.
And folks, the Goblin's Den Tattoo is also a safe place for those of you who are LGBTQ+. So if you're looking for a shop that's both safe and not run by pieces of human garbage, then we can give you the guarantee that the Goblin's Den is the destination. Again, that's the Goblin's Den. Find them on Instagram or Facebook and book your next session today. Welcome back, folks.
Howdy.
Oh, you space cowboy, you.
Yeehaw! You can't take the sky from me.
But you know who could take the sky from you are some real space cowboys.
Oh, like our cast and crew?
That's right, Steve, just like our casting crew!
Oh, it's the cast and crew!
As always, folks, the cast and crew is the part of the pod where we get to talk about some cast members, get to talk about some crew members. Now, are we going to be able to get to every single person?
Yep, including the extras and everyone who wore the alien suit.
Steve, no, not the extras. We don't have the time for that. As much as we love this 1979 classic sci-fi horror thriller film, we just don't have the time. People will stop listening to us. They may have even already stopped listening to us as we explain that these people would stop listening to us.
You know, Corey, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to venture that we will get to every single extra that was in this movie.
You know what, Steve? I just don't think we're going to be able to do it. But folks, if you feel like we should have, please be sure to hit us up on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube page.
See, it's funny because there weren't any extras.
I'm extra enough for both of us. Kicking this off, though, we've got the director, a Sir Ridley Scott. Scott is best known as the director of 1985's Legend, 2001's Black Hawk Down, 2001's Hannibal, 1991's Thelma and Louise, 1982's Blade Runner, 2007's American Gangster, 2021's House of Gucci, 2015's The Martian, 2000's Gladiator and its upcoming sequel, 2024's Gladiator 2, and 2012's Prometheus, along with 2017's Alien Covenant, both of which are prequels to Alien. Now, he has been nominated for 4 Academy Awards, 6 BAFTAs, 10 Primetime Emmy Awards, winning 2, 5 Golden Globes, winning 1, 4 Saturn Awards, winning 2, one of which for Best Director for this film, and he was also the recipient of both BAFTA's Outstanding British Contribution to Cinema in 1995, as well as the BAFTA Fellowship in 2018. In 2003, he would be knighted by Queen Elizabeth II and then appointed a Knight Grand Cross by King Charles III in 2024. And finally, in 2011, he would receive a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I gotta tell you, out of all of the Ridley Scott films I have ever seen, this is his best one. And I just don't feel like he's ever truly captured the greatness of this film. All of the ones I've seen. There's many in the ones I listed here that I haven't seen.
I would agree this is absolutely his best one. But also, side note, honorable mention, The Martian is a big comfort movie for me. I probably watch it 2 or 3 times a year. But this is still the superior movie.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, people want to talk about great directors and they want to include him in that. And I think he's deserving of that. This was his first big film. Obviously, studio took a chance on him and it really paid off. The vision he had for this was, all right, it's a very, very short plot if you want to just look at the plot points piece by piece.
Yeah.
But he draws it out as a way of sucking you in as the audience so that you're hooked from the get-go because the anticipation is just building up within you, which makes the thriller aspects of this so much better.
Yeah, it is a slow burn in the best way. It is full of tension and just dread. Oh my god, I love it. Edge of your seat. In space.
I don't think I could picture anyone else directing this film. And if at any point in time, he was the right choice.
Absolutely.
Next up, we have the writer, a Mr. Dan O'Bannon. Now, O'Bannon is best known as the writer of 2 stories in 1981's Heavy Metal, the director and writer of 1985's The Return of the Living Dead, and a co-writer on 1990's Total Recall. Unfortunately, he would pass away in December of 2009 due to complications from Crohn's disease. So this script, like we said, is honestly pretty short on dialogue, very short on actually seeing the alien, but these characters are outstanding.
They feel just so real and like someone you could just like bump into on the street. These are regular blue collar people just trying to do their jobs, get through the day, just like anyone else out there. The way that the story is like written and paced, we get so much time to get to know them and like them and see their point of view, where they're coming from, before we get to see them all horribly die, which makes it that much more effective.
And I feel like this is such a character-driven story at the same time, because at some point you find yourself caring about these characters, because even though we get like a brief glimpse at their human side, if you will, like who they actually are at their core, it's never anything like directly stated at us. And also these people aren't stereotypes, so you're not going to sit there and be making fun of them. You're actually worried about them while you're watching this, and the writing totally plays into that.
Hell yeah.
And of course, we have to talk about the fact that he came up with the idea for the aliens, like the whole, like, okay, they come from eggs from this planet, they attach to you. The intricacies of these with just like little tiny details littered about, which helped to kickstart this franchise and have held the test of time.
It all started from Dan O'Bannon. Great job, Dan. R.I.P.
R.I.P. indeed. Next up, we've got Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. Now, Weaver is best known, honestly, as the character of Ripley in the Alien franchise, but she's been an icon in plenty of other works as well, such as when she was Dana Barrett in the Ghostbusters franchise, the voice of the Axiom computer in 2008's WALL-E, Gwen DeMarco in 1999's Galaxy Quest, Diane Fossey in 1988's Gorillas in the Mist, Alice Hunt in 2004's The Village, Catherine Parker in 1988's Working Girl, Louise Walker in the 2003 book adaptation of Holes, the director in 2012's The Cabin in the Woods, and Dr. Grace Augustine in 2009's Avatar and its sequel, 2022's Avatar: The Way of Water, a role that she would reprise for the 2009 video game tie-in. She has also hosted Saturday Night Live twice. But to top that all off, she's been nominated for 3 Academy Awards, 3 BAFTAs, 1 nomination for this film, and winning for another role as Ripley, 4 Primetime Emmys, 7 Golden Globe Awards, winning 1, 3 SAG Awards, 1 Tony Award, 6 Saturn Awards, 1 nomination for this film, and winning 2 for other films in the Alien franchise, and the winner of 1 Grammy Award. In 1999, she was given a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and in 2010, she was presented with the Heroine Award at the Scream Awards, and finally given the Golden Lion for Lifetime Achievement in 2024 at the Venice Film Festival.
What did she win a Grammy for?
For being a goddamn angel.
I mean, she deserves it, but what was the category?
Oh, Best Spoken Word Album. Earth, the book.
Huh.
You win awards with those voiceovers, man. Read an audiobook, do it well enough, they'll nominate you.
You get Ripley to read your book, you're set.
And let's talk about this character of Ripley and what Sigourney Weaver has brought to the table as Ripley. Throughout all these films, we see Ripley evolve. But one thing about Ripley always stays the same. She is calculating, always thinking 3 steps ahead. She tries not to let her emotions get the best of her. Not in a way where she's not empathetic or worried. She just knows, like, okay, I have to think in order to get my way out of this. She's a great second in command on the Nostromo, for sure.
Absolutely. She is always the smartest person in the room, whatever room she's in. She is crafty. She's, like you said, super calculating, always thinking ahead. She's who you want to have on your space oil rig.
Ripley is just so good and iconic for all of the right reasons. A very great, strong role model in the world of sci-fi and horror alike. And Sigourney Weaver is a big part of that. Like when she's in the shuttle and she realizes the alien's there, I feel that's the first true terror that she displays, because she's kind of like keeping it together. She finally feels like, okay, I'm good, I'm great, I'm in the moment. And then that hand comes out and she loses her shit.
And despite that, she pulls it together and she brings a plan to fruition.
And the entire time, it's believable because of Weaver's performance.
Yeah, you feel her terror, and you see her not succumbing to it.
Next up, we've got Sir Ian Holm as Ash. Now, Holm is best known as the voice of Chef Skinner in 2007's Ratatouille, Mr. Kutzman in 1985's Brazil, Father Vito Cornelius in 1997's The Fifth Element, Napoleon in 1981's Time Bandits, Sam Musabini in 1981's Chariots of Fire, and Bilbo Baggins in 2001's Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, 2003's The Return of the King, 2012's The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, and 2014's The Battle of the Five Armies. He has been nominated for 1 Academy Award, 6 BAFTAs, winning 2, 2 Emmys, 3 SAG Awards, winning 1, 1 Saturn Award, and winner of 1 Tony Award. And to top it all off, he was made a Commander of the Order of the British Empire in 1989 by Queen Elizabeth II. Unfortunately, he would pass away in June of 2020 at the age of 88.
This is just such an interesting character. When you know the twist and the reveal, it's just like you're watching a completely different movie every time he's on screen when you're watching everything that leads up to it.
especially when you go back and you watch it again and you start noticing the very subtle things that Sir Ian Holm is doing here. The way he looks at Kane across the table, like the slight worry, but trying to mask that worry when Ripley starts asking him questions. He set the tone for all androids in this universe. Like, I recently watched Alien Covenant, and Michael Fassbender in that film plays an android. And you look at that and you go back and look at how Ian Holm is playing Ash. They're eerily similar, although they're different in their motivations. Their mannerisms are very, very similar.
Yeah, I have not seen Alien Covenant, TBH, but Fassbender also plays the same android in Prometheus. And yeah, those similarities are absolutely there. He obviously studied the performance and brought in elements of it while still making it his own. Fassbender, just another powerhouse actor. But we're talking about Ian Holm. Ian Holm is terrific.
Next up, we've got Bolaji Badejo as the alien. Now, Badejo is best known for this role and honestly nothing else. But given he brought this iconic species of science fiction and horror history to life, we feel he deserves to be mentioned. He was born and raised in Nigeria before coming to the United States and then moved to London to specialize in graphic design. In 1980, he would choose to move back to Nigeria, eventually opening an art gallery there in 1983. Unfortunately, in December of 1992, he would pass away from sickle cell disease at the age of 39. On set, he was described as mild-mannered and withdrawn, with some believing he was in complete shock to be the center of attention for a major motion picture. Now, we normally don't talk about people in the costumes, right? But like I said, we have to talk about this guy's performance. He's on screen for 4 minutes, and it's iconic.
Yeah, he's the title character. He makes the whole thing. Oh my god, the way the alien moves and like lurks about, every little nuance of this performance is just so perfect and creepy and terrifying. And that's got to be such a surreal experience to have like no ties to the movie industry and then all of a sudden, bam, you're the alien.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, they literally found him in a pub and he is 6'10", and they just went, "Do you want to wear a costume and be in a movie?"
Amazing.
I think it would be interesting if he had lived much longer to see what his thoughts were about, being in this role, being in this film, because unfortunately we don't have any first-hand interviews, because he just, the very next year after this came out, he went back to Nigeria, opened an art gallery, and that's what he did, and unfortunately died 9 years later.
That's wild. That is a hell of a life, man. Also, side note, shout out H.R. Geiger for designing the alien. The most unique and off-putting design that you could have for something. It's not like anything else that's out there.
No, absolutely. H.R. Geiger's design going into this, go look at his artwork sometime. It's mind-blowing how eerily similar it was, and you could definitely tell. We'll get more into that as we get into the how it's made section, but H.R. Geiger was pretty much found, like they literally were flipping through art books, saw a piece of his artwork and went, "No, that's what we need for the film," and they hired him.
Amazing. Perfect choice.
And folks, it's going to be the members of our cast and crew!
Hey, cast and crew!
Next up, generically named How It's Made.
Hey, how'd they make that?
As always, folks, with the generically named How It's Made, I have gone through and compiled an entire document here detailing, to the best of my ability, the entire production history of the film that we are going over here today. Now, Steve has this document, is opening it right now. He has yet to see this document, and he's going to be reading it out loud, giving us his takes as he goes. So, Steve, whenever you're ready, take it away.
In the early 1970s, while studying film at the University of Southern California, Dan O'Bannon would make the science fiction comedy Dark Star, along with director John Carpenter, and concept artist Ron Cobb. Oh, that's a guy. The film would feature an alien created by spray painting a beach ball and adding rubber claws. Sure. Making films in college, you scrap together what you can, which was played for comedic effect, even better. O'Bannon would leave the film really wanting to do an alien that looked real. A few years later, he began working on a similar story, but with more of a focus on horror instead of comedy. Impressed after seeing Dark Star, Ronald Shusett, who was working on Total Recall, contacted O'Bannon and they agreed to collaborate on their projects. Wait, what? Working on Total Recall in the 1970s. That is some development hell there. That movie came out in 1990.
We'll get there.
Oh, we'll get there. Or at least we'll dream that we did. Contacted O'Bannon, and they agreed to collaborate on their projects, choosing to work on O'Bannon's film first, as they believed it would be less costly to produce. O'Bannon would write 29 pages of a script called Memory, which would become the opening scenes of Alien. Awesome. During this, O'Bannon agreed to work on Alejandro Jodorowsky's adaptation of Dune, where he would go off to Paris for about 6 months. That is just a legendary production that never saw the light of day. The stories that are told about Jodorowsky's Dune. I think there's even a documentary about it. Anyway, while this project fell through, it would introduce him to artists such as Chris Foss and H.R. Geiger, whose work would go on to give him the ideas for the story in Alien. After the Dune project fell through, he returned to Los Angeles, where he slept on Shusett's couch. Desperate for money, he wanted to write a spec script studios would buy, and the two went back to the Memory script. Shusett would be the one to suggest setting it on a spaceship for the second half of the story, as well as the idea that one of the crew members be implanted with an alien embryo that would burst out of them. The two would begin making their pitches to the studios, calling it Jaws in Space. While on the verge of signing a deal with Roger Corman's studio, a friend offered to pass the script on to Gordon Carroll, David Giler, and Walter Hill, who had just formed the production company with ties to 20th Century Fox. O'Bannon and Shusett would sign with them. However, Hill and Giler weren't happy with the script and made numerous rewrites and revisions, which created tension between the parties. Execs versus creatives. We love to see it.
Warner Brothers Discovery has entered the chat.
Shit. Out of here, Zaslav. Should go can another movie for a tax write-off. There would end up being 8 drafts of the script in total. 20th Century Fox did not express much confidence in financing the film, that is, until a little film called Star Wars came out in 1977, whose success inspired their interest. With science fiction now the hot genre, and with Alien being the only script they had set in space, 20th Century Fox would greenlight the script with an initial budget of $4.2 million. That's a lot of money in 1977 dollars. Hill would first be asked to direct. However, he would decline due to other film commitments as well as not being comfortable with the amount of visual effects required. Peter Yates, John Boorman, Jack Clayton, Robert Aldrich, and Robert Altman were also considered, but the team felt that they wouldn't take the film seriously. I'll be honest, I have never heard of any of those men. After being impressed with Ridley Scott's 1977 debut feature film, The Duelists, they would make him an offer to direct, which he would accept. Scott would work on the storyboards for the film. Fox was so impressed by these that they doubled the film's budget. Score?
Imagine being so good at drawing storyboards that just the very sight of them, the production company goes, no, you need more money.
Insane. I don't think that's something that would happen these days unless it was Marvel. Filming would begin on July 5th, 1978, and last until October 21st. Principal photography took place at Pinewood Studios and Shepperton Studios near London. Meanwhile, model and miniature filming was done at Bray Studios in Water Oakley, Berkshire. Art director Les Dilley created 1/24th scale miniatures of the planetoid surface and derelict spacecraft based on Geiger's designs. The spacesuits worn were lined with nylon, had no cooling systems, ooh, sweaty, and originally no venting, yikes. In space, no one can hear you sweat. Combined with the heat wave occurring at the time, yikes! These conditions nearly caused the actors to pass out, and nurses had to be kept on hand with oxygen tanks. Oh my god. It's like they're really in space. Post-production work would take about 20 weeks to complete. Alien would open in a limited release in American theaters on May 25th, 1979. With no formal premiere, moviegoers were still lined up for blocks to see it at Grauman's Egyptian Theater in Hollywood. It would have a wide release on June 22nd, with an international release in Japan on July 20th, and then Brazil on August 20th. The film would premiere in the UK Edinburgh Film Festival on September 1st before eventually opening wide on October 1st. The film would also open in France and Spain in September. It would go on to gross $3,527,881 over the 4-day Memorial Day weekend, while only in 90 theaters. That's almost half their budget made back right away. Alien would go on to make a reported $187 million against an $11 million budget. Okay, my math was off. It would also go on to be nominated for 2 Academy Awards, winning for Best Visual Effects. Yeah, like what else are you gonna give that to? This is freaking Alien we're dealing with here.
I would say sound editing, it deserved it for.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, the sound in this is, oh my god, it's legendary. 7 BAFTAs, winning for Best Production Design and Best Sound, 1 Golden Globe, 1 Grammy for the score, I guess, and 7 Saturn Awards, winning for Best Science Fiction Film, Best Director, and Veronica Cartwright winning Best Supporting Actress. It would go on to spawn a franchise that includes 8 sequels, 2 crossover films with the Predator franchise, a web series, a slew of video games, comic adaptations, action figures, and even a high school play adaptation. Man, I missed out on high school.
The high school adaptation is a fascinating story in and of itself. So Sung was just super into Alien. He wrote adaptation, and I think I want to say it was like Scott or somebody like gave him permission, like, no, you can absolutely make that, like, you can do this play in high school. Like, they'll never be able to take it like Broadway or anywhere or like tour with it. But the fact that they like literally let this just be like, no, go ahead, cook, do whatever you want, it's totally fine.
Amazing.
Mind-blowing.
God, now I want to travel back in time to high school and be in that. And thus concludes the generically named How It's Made. Oh, that's how they made it.
All right, folks, before we get into our next segment, just one more quick commercial break. Don't shoot off into space anywhere.
Hey, folks, did you know that we're a couple of corporate whores? We will do whatever you say for money. That's right. We'll give an ad that promises the world to your potential customers for whatever you're trying to sell. Is it true? Doesn't matter. Is it going to work? Still doesn't matter. Give us $5, give us $10. We'll make all your dreams come true as long as your dreams are limited to having your product hawked on our podcast.
But Steve, what if I don't have an advertisement written for you?
Well, for a small extra fee, we can write one for you, aka make one up on the spot and half-ass it.
That's right, folks. If you have any interest in advertising with us, please hit us up on our Instagram at That Sounds Terrible Pod, or find us on Twitter by looking up That Sounds Terrible, Go On.
Slide into our DMs so we can slide into your ads. We're going to do an ad for you.
That's right, folks. Fill our bank accounts so we can line your pockets with that sweet, sweet internet money.
Welcome back, folks.
Welcome again.
Welcome back to the spaceship. Please leave all of your trays and face huggers in their upright positions.
Oh, like this?
Sir, please buckle your seatbelt. That's nice, sir. You need to buckle your seatbelt right now. I don't care that you're being impregnated.
Oh my god, that was a close one.
Sir, if you want to be impregnated, you have to go into the bathroom like everybody else.
God damn it, not again.
Mile High Children. It's an epidemic.
Get those kids off that plane.
Oh, Steve.
Corey.
Much like the ship in this film, I'm feeling some type of way.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a little broken. A little down.
Oh, well, good thing that we've reached our breakdown.
Oh, don't do this to me.
That's right, folks. The breakdown is the part of the pod where we go through the entire plot, scene by scene, giving our takes as we go. Now, are we going to be able to touch on every little single detail?
Yep, we're going word by word through the screenplay.
Steve, that would honestly not take a lot of time because there's very minimal dialogue here, but we don't even have time to do that. So, folks, if there is something that we didn't touch on that you really wish that we had, please reach out to us on our Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube page. Well, Steve, I think it's time that we blast off into space and get impregnated by some aliens. What do you think?
Oh, probe me, baby.
All right, beginning the probing in 3, 2. The commercial space rig Nostromo is returning to Earth with a 7-member crew in stasis. Captain Dallas, played by Tom Skerritt. Executive Officer Kane, played by John Hurt. Warrant Officer Ripley, Navigator Lambert, played by Veronica Cartwright, Science Officer Ash, and the engineers Parker, played by Yaphet Kotto, and Brett, played by Harry Dean Stanton. The ship's computer, Mother, voiced by Helen Horton, detects a transmission from a nearby planet and awakens the crew. So this opening sucks me in immediately. The dragged out slow movements of the camera, the ever so low sound of the composition as we're drifting through space, and the interior of the ship, and then the computer turns on, giving us the first false jump scare of the entire film.
Yeah, there's a few of them, and they're all awesome. Also, just like shout out how they show the title of the movie. Just these lines appearing on the top of the screen, symmetrical up to a certain point, and it just slowly it fills in until you finally see the word alien. Much like how this movie slowly eases you into an alien story and stuff, and takes its time to reveal it.
It totally sets the tone of this film, which is very ominous.
Mm-hmm.
And much like when you do not hear a toddler when you know there is one in the house, it leaves you wondering what the hell is about to happen here. And it's part of the whole place where it just sucks you in as an audience member.
Yeah, and all the shots going through the empty ship, when you're first watching the movie and it's the beginning, it's just setting the scene, letting you know what kind of environment we're going to be in for the movie. But when you see it, well, we'll get there. It sets up something that I think is very effective later.
It gives it almost a claustrophobic feeling to it in what they show us of the ship. Like, you can tell there's a lot there, but the way they shoot it, like, you don't really go into the rooms. They just shoot down the hallway as you're staring into these rooms. So you feel very far away. You start feeling that claustrophobia, which is a very big theme that's explored in this film, that feeling of being trapped.
And also just the design of everything in this movie, not just the alien, not just the ship, but all these interiors, all the otherworldly stuff. It's all so unique and just absolutely its own thing. The way the technology looks and works in this movie is unlike anything else.
And it's kind of funny, like, watching the prequels where the technology is so much more, but also I would even be willing to say that those ships that we see in the prequels are more higher tech. This is just a bare bones, like, space rig. That's it. Like, these people are, like, getting by on fumes. This spaceship's probably, like, 150 years old and just barely trudging along.
Yeah, it was built by the lowest bidder. There's nothing there that doesn't need to be there.
Which is great because when you watch this film and you go to watch the sequels, which, you know, or the prequels, which take place in the past, it doesn't make it feel dated.
Yeah, smart choice there.
They were thinking ahead, even though they didn't think there were going to be sequels, but we'll give them credit anyways.
Absolutely.
I got a question, though. Is it just because it's the 70s, or is it a normal thing for everyone to be smoking a cigarette in space? Is it just a thing you do?
I'm going to say it's the 70s. But yeah, something that occurred to me when they're smoking cigarettes in space is the technology must be so advanced, they're able to generate actual atmosphere in the ship and not just like an oxygen-rich environment like we have now in space. Because you light up a cigarette on the ISS, you're not going to have a second one.
You know what? I want to put that theory to the test. NASA, get me up there.
Let's go.
Now, I talked about it before, but I want to talk about the different personalities of each of the crew that we get just in this opening scene where they're talking about, oh, there's a transmission that we need to go and take a look at. I feel like everyone except for Kane. Kane is kind of just there, which really plays into the whole he's expendable thing. Like, we don't really need to get to know Kane as much, right? But Dallas is a strong and caring leader. Ripley, as we said before, is calculating. Lambert is very worrisome. Ash is meek. And the engineers are just over everybody's crap.
Yeah, all Parker cares about is where's that bonus? How am I going to get that bonus? We got to get paid. We don't get paid nearly enough. Which, yeah, every single blue-collar worker out there feels that.
And Brett feels the same way, but he has Parker be the one to speak up about it. If you notice when they're sitting there, he kind of looks at him and goes, well, you want to talk about the thing? Like, he doesn't say that, but just in this head movement and the way he kind of like moves his eyes. And then Parker's kind of like, oh yeah, hey, we want more money. What's our take from this?
Great, believable conversation. They've just woken up from cryosleep, and this is absolutely the kinds of things that people would be talking about with their coworkers. And then Ash is just Ash.
Ash is honestly, he's getting kind of pushed around a little bit. Notice when they're gathering at the table, Parker comes in and sees that Ash is sitting in his chair, goes, hey, you're sitting in my chair. And Ash gets up like, oh, I'm sorry, and gets up. And Ash doesn't get to sit at the table. He's standing around the table. There's no more seats.
Poor meek little science officer.
It's a nice little way to deter us as the audience away from what Ash really is. And great detail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are all these little things that give us sympathy for him when we still think he's a human.
Following company policy to investigate transmissions indicating intelligent life, they land on the planet, and Dallas, Kane, and Lambert head out to investigate. They discover that the transmission comes from a derelict alien spaceship, where they find the remains of a large alien with a hole in its torso. Later, Mother deciphers part of the transmission, which Ripley determines to be a warning message. The shots of the ship traveling in space and the shuttle leaving the ship, still beautiful, even as we sit here 45 years later.
Yeah, these effects absolutely hold up. The way that everything just moves so slowly feels like it just adds to the sense of scale of the Nostromo and how incredibly massive this thing is that they're driving around. The planet looks eerie. The crashed weird spaceship looks eerie. It all holds up.
Speaking of that ship, I feel like when we're inside of that crashed ship, it almost made me feel like we were inside of some creature and not an actual spaceship. Like the way everything was designed, like we're in like something's bone structure or it's like, intestine.
Yeah, it's very organic looking, the way that the interior of that is designed. It doesn't look like just, they took I-beams and 2x4s and put everything in nice symmetrical right angles and practicality or whatever. It's just everything is so fluid looking and twisted and weird and just otherworldly.
And the sound editing we brought up before, but a great usage of the sound here. So when they're outside on the planet to where Ash is in the shuttle, you got a great use of contrasting sounds. It helps kind of keep up the ominous vibes where we have inside the ship is very quiet, ergo, this is safe. But the planet is loud, ergo, it's dangerous.
Good point. It's a jungle out there.
Also pointing out that in this scene, Ash is being dismissive of Ripley's discovery of the signal actually being a warning, and that's because Ash has ulterior motives. The first breadcrumb that I noticed.
Yes, first breadcrumb I noticed is when they go down to the planet, Ash stays on the shuttle to make sure that the door gets open for the alien.
Despite the fact that he is the science officer, and shouldn't he be the one out there exploring the science?
Exactly.
Good catch. I didn't think about that. Very nice. Very nice. Sensual, even. Kane discovers a chamber containing hundreds of large eggs. When he touches one, a spider-like creature springs out, penetrates his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the Nostromo. As the acting senior officer, Ripley refuses to let them aboard, citing quarantine regulations, but Ash overrides her. The scene with Kane closely inspecting the egg before it opens. The music cuts as the egg opens, right? And suddenly this face hugger leaps out and suctions to his helmet before we cut to the outside of the crashed ship. We don't need to see everything that happens here because, again, you want the audience to feel sucked in and wondering what the hell just happened. Now have the audience invested in it with that quick edit away. You know something horrible happened, but you don't fully know what yet.
Yeah, and that is a recurring motif in this movie.
The fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I know that we know this as the audience, but the fact that nobody else had even half a brain to say, you know what, you're right, we don't know what we're dealing with, and we all don't want to die, is completely mind-blowing to me. Like, these people aren't shown to be stupid. Yes, they're very empathetic and caring of each other, but they're not stupid. And Ripley being the only one going, no, you can't let them in, because he could be disease and it could kill all of us.
Ridley, once again, being the absolute smartest member of the crew, and no one listens to her. Oh man, I saw a while ago, there was this summary someone like tweeted of Alien. Let me see if I can find it, because it's pure gold and it's relevant here. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. Alien is a movie where nobody listens to the smart woman, and then they all die except for the smart woman and her cat. 4 stars.
Spoiler alert, Steve. Come on.
We'll get there.
Also, I want to just clarify to our listeners, at this point in the film, we're about 35 minutes in. Now, has a lot happened? No, but again, that's part of the slow burn we talked about in order to help build suspense, and it works. Like, I wasn't bothered by how long it took to get here because the film just sucked me in.
Yeah, it doesn't drag, even though it takes its time. Watching this time, I remembered it being a slow burn and how much I loved that, but I also was kind of taken aback at how quickly they go down to the alien planet and like the plot gets kickstarted. Like at the same time, it moves efficiently.
Yeah, for a almost 2 hour long film, every scene has a purpose. Every line has a purpose. There's no throwaway anything here, which doesn't surprise me that I guess the original cut was a little over 3 hours long.
Oof.
Yeah, well, there was a lot of deleted scenes of things that I'm honestly kind of glad they didn't leave in because it would screw with the sequels.
Gotcha.
Nobody likes a retcon.
That is true.
While Parker and Brett work on repairing the Nostromo, Ash attempts to remove the creature from Kane's face. He stops when he discovers that its highly corrosive acidic blood could harm Kane and potentially damage the ship's hull. Ripley confronts Ash about him breaking the quarantine procedure against her orders. The creature eventually detached itself and dies. After the crew returns to space, Kane awakens with some memory loss, but otherwise seems well. The removal scene here is great because we're learning more and more about this creature. The acidic blood is a cool thing because it also sets up that you can't just shoot this creature when it becomes huge because it's going to literally burn a hole through the hull and then they all die. But my favorite touch is the facehugger tightening its tail around its victim's throat if you try to remove it. It's a way of self-preservation playing off the empathy of other creatures. Genius.
And the way they pull off the effect just looks so real and organic, natural.
Slimy, even.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Another telltale sign here of Ash's motives. Ash not wanting to be too hasty in removing the facehugger, and him being annoyed that Ripley is even asking him questions about, hey, what have you found about the creature? Why would you open that and disobey my orders? That wasn't cool. Like, he's annoyed that Ripley is around him right now. Like, hey, just go away and let me kill all of you, essentially.
Yeah. And on first watch, it really seems like he's doing all this out of his absolute care for Kane and just wanting Kane to be safe and better and everything. But obviously, once you know who he actually is, he's working for the man. One of the crew members suggests that they should freeze Kane and his facehugger, and that is immediately dismissed. That's just another moment of stupidity. I feel like that could have potentially provided some relief for them.
I want to talk about the tension in the scene where Ash, Dallas, and Ripley are all searching for the facehugger in Kane's room. Now, keeping in mind, we're the only ones who know how fast this thing moves. So while they're being cautious, it kind of causes the audience to be more on the edge of their seat, only for nothing to happen.
But you know that something could and probably will happen at any point. So every second that it doesn't just makes it worse.
It's that false jump scare.
Mm-hmm.
So good.
And the kitty cat. Yay, cat.
Jones finally makes an appearance.
We love Jones. Also, another instance of Ash being a sneaky little robot man. When Kane is finally better and doesn't have the facehugger on him anymore, Ash just is sort of very mysterious on the intercom. You know, you should probably come down to sickbay. Oh, what happened? What's going on with Kane? And all Ash says is, it's simpler if you just come and see him. It's because he needed everybody in the same place.
He didn't know that the face hugger was going to detach itself and die. He thought it would still be alive, so he was bringing in more people.
Oh, no, I think it's because the crew is expendable and he just thinks it's simpler for them all to be in one corralled location for the alien. Baby got a feed.
During a final crew meal before returning to stasis, Kane suddenly begins choking and convulsing. A small alien creature bursts from his chest, killing him, and escapes into the ship. An iconic scene in sci-fi history here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's break this down with just a bit more detail. So it starts off, everyone is gathered around the table, they're eating, they're drinking beers, they're laughing. There is just pure joy emanating from this group. But it quickly turns into a complete and utter horror as Kane's body is seizing and he's expelling blood as the chest burster comes out of him. And notice that even after it emerges, Kane isn't completely still. His hands are convulsing as this thing just sits inside of him and staring around at its new surroundings.
Yeah, it is horrific and alarming.
Also, notice Ash doesn't appear at all surprised or concerned during this until he realizes he needs to react. He knew this was going to happen, and then he even stops the crew from harming it.
They had their shot and he made them miss it. And at this point, when the chestburster runs away and is just somewhere on the ship, this is the payoff to those opening shots of the empty ship at the beginning of the movie. Because we know there are so many places this alien could be now. We've seen how big and intricate this ship is and how much of a labyrinth it is, which just makes it that much more terrifying. Also, this is almost exactly halfway through the movie that the chestburster happens.
Again, that slow burn, setting everything up, but you don't care that it's going slow. You're enjoying the ride.
Hell yeah, baby.
After ejecting Kane's body out of an airlock, the crew attempts to locate the creature using tracking devices and kill it. Brett follows the crew's pet cat, Jones, into a landing-leg compartment where the now fully grown alien attacks Brett. Kane's funeral, I guess you could call it, is just so sullen and serious. Look at the faces of this crew in shock at what just transpired, only for his body to be flung out like he didn't even matter. Much like, as I said earlier, he's expendable, so they never gave him a true personality.
True. But they still cared about him. He's one of them.
Also, that brief moment of joy they get when they first realize that they were tracking the cat, and it quickly takes another turn to horror as we follow Brett into that hangar. We get the first fake jump scare, followed almost immediately by an actual jump scare, or an actual horror moment.
And also, one more brilliant thing about the design of this ship, there's so much just stuff in the background. There's wires and panels and discarded what have you and hardware, whatever is on a space oil rig. It's so busy in the background that the alien could be lurking in any one of these shots and it would be almost impossible to see it. You're constantly scanning the screen like, where is this thing?
And you also expect it to be so much smaller until you see Brett pick up the shedded skin. And then you realize, oh no, this thing's going to be big, but you don't realize how huge it's going to be until you see it on your screen.
Absolutely. Just a great piece of visual storytelling, having him just hold up that skin. He doesn't even have to say anything, because we know.
The crew determines that the alien must be in the air ducts. Dallas enters the ducts with a flamethrower, intending to force the creature into an airlock, but it attacks him. Parker later finds only the flamethrower. Lambert suggests fleeing in the escape shuttle, but Ripley, now in command, explains that it will not support 4 people and insists on continuing Dallas's plan to flush out the alien. One thing I found very weird was Ash calling the xenomorph Kane's son. It's not quite a joke, but it's not quite a serious line either, and I didn't really know what to make of it.
Oh, it's because the one of the main themes in the Alien franchise, and especially the original, is basically being violated sexually and assault and all that. Because the way the alien impregnates Kane is against its will, is against his will. The way the alien just bursts out of him and destroys his body, he has no autonomy in that, and that is the real horror of everything that's happening. So in a way, yes, the alien is his son. Just it's a rape baby.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. We also get a quick scene of Dallas at the computer, also known as Mother, trying to figure out what kind of plan to kill the alien that it can come up with, ending on him asking them what his chances are, and the answer is does not compute. I liked this because it kind of helped to show that he's actually worried, even though when he's out there, he's not showing that he's worried to his crew.
Yeah. He just gets a big old you from the computer.
At every turn. Like, any ideas on how to kill this? I don't understand the question. Like, dude. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, we later find out why, but
Yeah. One more little hint that this is meant to happen. This is planned. I love the look of the computer. Like, the room the computer is in is unlike anything else on the ship. Pure white, lights all over, blinking everywhere, floor to ceiling. But the look of the actual computer screen and the way the words appear on there still holds up. It still just like reads as futuristic to me, even though it's the classic green text on a screen that was commonplace back then. But it feels so very much its own. It's timeless.
so Lambert here has a great suggestion of let's get the hell out of here. You have Parker who wants to go in guns a-blazing, and then Ripley who's actually thinking of a whole plan, further showing a huge difference in these characters who are all trying to reach the same goal: survival.
When Lambert suggests they leave the ship, the main reason that they decide not to is that the shuttle can only hold 3 people and there's 4 of them. You can find a way to shed a person's worth of weight from that shuttle and get everyone on there when your goal is just survival.
Well, no, I think it comes down to the stasis pods.
They don't need those. They'll take turns.
I don't think that's how it works, buddy.
They can take turns. They can go lapsies.
Are you a stasis pod scientist?
A little bit.
I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to insult you or your schoolins.
Yeah, it's like day 1 stuff that you can go lapsies.
While accessing Mother, Ripley discovers that the crew was awoken and directed to the planet because the company secretly ordered Ash to return with the alien for study and to consider the crew expendable. She confronts Ash, who tries to kill her. Parker intervenes, knocking Ash's head loose and revealing him to be an android. The survivors reactivate Ash's head, and he confirms the company's orders. Ash states that the alien is unkillable and expresses his admiration for it, taunting them about their chances of survival. Ripley shuts him down, and Parker incinerates him. The final line when Ripley is reading off when Mother is telling her Order 937 is crew expendable is so chilling. And it's made even worse that now we understand Ash's true intentions from the beginning.
Yeah, the rug is ripped out from under you if this is the first time you're watching it. And I love how it's not like right away that it's revealed that Ash is a robot as soon as she discovers the company's behind this. First, there's just a little hint that we don't get as an audience, and that is Ash bleeding white from his head. We don't understand what that means. Maybe he got some space mining fluid on him in the fight or something like that. And then it's not until she knocks off his head and we see all those innards that it fully comes to fruition. But also, just like the design of the tech in this robot is so gross and unique and weird. It's unlike anything else.
And from a story standpoint, it makes sense for him to be one, given that the robot is going to follow the order given without any empathy towards the crew. There's no chance that this is going to turn away from its programming. And it's an even nicer twist that he's suddenly the most dangerous one out of all of them, when before he was someone who was legitimately getting pushed around by the entire crew. I also really like this scene because it's the most gore we get out of the entire film. If you've noticed, even though we see a lot of like these killings, we see them, we don't actually see them. The only like true blood splatter everywhere we get is Ash leaking that white liquid everywhere.
It's a good point.
Also, having Ash's head taunt them with,
You have my sympathies.
again, very haunting. I love it.
Such a sassy robot.
What does he care? He's dead anyways.
Ashes to ashes.
The crew decides to self-destruct the Nostromo and escape in the shuttle. While gathering supplies, Parker and Lambert are killed by the alien. Now alone, Ripley initiates the self-destruct sequence, but the alien blocks her path to the shuttle. She retreats and unsuccessfully attempts to abort the self-destruct. She reaches the shuttle unhindered with Jones, narrowly escaping as the Nostromo explodes. Of course, Ripley has to go back for the cat, truly solidifying her as the hero of this franchise.
You gotta save the cat. Also, in case there was any doubt what kind of movie this really solidifies that this is a slasher flick and Ripley is the final girl. Watching her do the whole self-destruct procedure while she's holding back tears is such just a powerful moment in the movie.
Because she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. The original Ripley shouting, "You bitch!" Everyone thinks of the sequel when she says it to the Queen Alien, but the original, she says to Mother. And then the famous one in the sequel, she says to a mother.
I love Aliens so much. We'll get there. But I love that film so much. Speaking of that scene, Sigourney Weaver delivering a masterclass in this is what you should sound like when your character is just so exhausted from the worst day of their life.
Worst day of their life so far.
Because there's sequels. Oh, you thought this was bad? You're on a whole planet of them. One time, I would just want to hear Ripley say, "You got to be fucking kidding me." I want to point out great sound editing as well during the killing of Parker and Lambert. So right at the start, they just let the orchestra really drive the scene, and it starts, taking over the screams of the both of them before it just suddenly cuts out entirely. I just love that touch because again, it's really using the score to really make this a terrifying scene, and then using the edits of like very up close where you see like the little tiny mouth come out and it starts, I'm pretty sure it attacks Parker's brain, and then we don't even get to see what it does to Lambert. We just hear her screaming over the intercom.
Yeah, less is more with this.
Also, really good writing here too. When she retreats to try to abort the self-destruct, because, the xenomorph's right there, but she comes back and it's gone, right?
Mm-hmm. It's
genius because this moves the story forward without creating any kind of plot hole. This puts the xenomorph on the shuttle.
True. That is some efficient storytelling right there.
As Ripley prepares for stasis, she discovers the alien has stowed itself in a narrow compartment. She dons a space suit and flushes it out. It approaches Ripley, but before it can kill her, she opens the airlock door. The resulting explosive decompression almost ejects the alien into space, but it hangs onto the doorframe. Ripley fires a grappling hook gun to push it out and activates the engines, blasting the alien into space. After recording her final log entry, she places Jones and herself into stasis for the trip back to Earth. Technically, the plan of pushing the xenomorph out into space is successful, just not in the way that Dallas had intended.
True. She goes all out to kill this thing. It's not just pushing it into space, it's airlock, harpoon, or grappling. It's a harpoon. Airlock, harpoon, rocket engine.
Everything a growing boy needs.
Absolutely.
And we talked about it before, but her quick turn from total relief as she watches the Nostromo explode. She's like, okay, it's over. She's undressing herself to kind of get into the stasis pod, which I don't blame her. She's probably super sweaty from within that whole entire jumpsuit. I wouldn't want to, rest for 6 weeks in that thing. Only again, when that hand comes out, she loses her mind, total fear. And I think that having the xenomorph appear in the shuttle and Ripley having to fight it off again, I guess it was a last minute addition to the script, and it's so smart because it ups the ante just one last time. Think about it. The Nostromo, as we know, was huge. Plenty of places to hide, plenty of places to run if you need to. The shuttle, completely different story. It's small, so the claustrophobia is setting in, and it also serves to show the further intelligence of the xenomorph. I don't believe it just happened into the shuttle and hid. It knew that ship was going to explode, and it stowed away there, and it didn't kill Ripley right away, even though it was right there, because it wanted to survive. And it realized, if I kill Ripley, I'm not going to get to somewhere else.
Going back and I'm watching that scene right now where she discovers the alien, there's a good 10 seconds where the alien is on screen and you have no idea. The way that hand moves to reveal it is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, and it only exits that little like place where it was like crunched up in because she fires off some like steam or whatever to kind of drive it out to annoy it. And it's only then where it's like, okay, I guess I have to kill you now.
Yeah, and God, the whole sequence where she's putting on the spacesuit and she's just terrified, eyes locked on the alien. Perfect, masterful.
Shows how calculating she is.
Mm-hmm. We see the gears turning and we see the plan play out in real time.
Trust smart women, folks, and you just might survive.
Absolutely, and save the cat.
Always, always save the cat. And folks, that's our breakdown. We did it.
Ooh, we broke it right down.
There wasn't a ton of scenes for us to really like break down in this. That's because of the slow burn of this film. But anyone who hasn't seen this, don't let that deter you. There are a ton of little details that you're going to pick up along the way, and you're going to enjoy this as you watch it. I almost thought about like going through and trying to like write out more details in the breakdown, but I really wanted to keep it kind of simple. And I'd like to imagine that it works for this and truly capturing the essence of this film. It's a slow burn with a lot of great writing, and you're not going to care that this is almost 2 hours long.
Absolutely. Masterclass in storytelling.
And folks, speaking of stories to tell, just one more quick advertisement break. We'll be right back.
Bring us some revenue.
Folks, you've been asking about it for years. You come up to me, you come up to Steve, and you say, guys, where's the merch for the pod?
I know, right? Just leave us alone for 2 seconds, people.
That's right, Steve. We've been way too busy doing all types of other things, such as jumping jacks and putting together puzzles and
documents.
Tons of documents. But who has time to sit there and truly set up a merch store?
Not me, I'll tell you what. If only there was an easier way for us to open up a merch store to sell our merch to people.
Well, you know what, Steve? There is live right now. We have the That Sounds Terrible Go On podcast store, and it's all available on redbubble.com. Go to redbubble.com. Look up our store. It is TSTGo-pod. Again, TSTGo-pod. You'll see fun little things that we say on here. You'll find stickers, shirts, hats.
That's some high quality merchandise if I ever did see it right there.
So that's right, folks. Hit up redbubble.com, search TSTGo-pod, all one word, and we'll see you there.
Capitalism, baby!
Welcome back, folks.
Alien.
You're right, Steve. It is an alien. But there's not many of them, you know? There's just a small amount of alien in this film.
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah, I'd say, it's just a...
Little bits!
Oh, just a little bit.
That's right, folks. Little bits, the part of the pod we get to those things that we didn't get to say. Maybe some fun stuff we learned along the way. So, Steve, do you have any bits?
One moment we didn't really touch on, but what really got me rooting for Brett in particular in this movie is a little scene after they brought the facehugger back on the ship. They cut it. They see the blood eat through the floor. They go down a couple decks. Parker and Brett are there, and Parker takes Brett's pen and rubs it on the blood to see what happens to it. And then when they have their little discussion about it, It's a great defense mechanism, blah, blah, blah. Don't cut this thing. We're all going to die. Hands the pen back to Brett. And Brett is just so sad about his pen being ruined. And I love it.
It's a good pen, Steve. It writes upside down. It's a space pen.
It's a space pen.
Like, you don't just give that pen away.
No, and it got utterly ruined by the blood.
I tell you, that had to make Brett feel alienated.
Hey, you got a bit?
According to producer Gordon Carroll, Yaphet Kotto, who played Parker, was upset knowing his character's fate, and I guess he would often corner director Ridley Scott as he entered the studio and consistently arguing that it should change. It got to the point where Scott would try to avoid Kotto by using a different entrance entirely. Kotto's attitude would have him frequently clash with the guy who played the alien, Balaji Badejo. Literally on the set, he would claim that he could take him and the alien down in one punch. Carroll noted that although Badejo was 7 feet tall and thin, he was very, very strong. And I guess during one of their arguments, Badejo said, "Hold on just a second," before hoisting Kotto into the air with his arms. And I guess Kotto never brought it up again.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I feel like at some point, like you're this actor, you're a professional actor, you're bullying this guy who's here because he's tall and can wear the suit. And you're like, I could take you. Like, you're acting like that. And he's like, hold on. And he just lifts you up like a child. Okay, no, we're good. We're cool, bro. We're cool.
I love it. I tell you, I don't know anything about Balaji Badejo, but I can hear him saying, "Not in my house."
No, no, no. R.I.P. R.I.P. to a legend.
R.I.P.
Steve, you got a bit?
Fun little fact about this movie and the Alien franchise at large. The creatures are obviously known as, Corey,
Xenomorphs.
That word is never said in this movie or in the credits or anywhere remotely involving this particular movie.
Is it said in any of the sequels?
Obviously in the sequels they say it, but I'm saying in this movie in particular. Xenomorph is never said. The credits all just say alien. But that's what we call it. It's Xenomorph.
Same thing with Chestburster and Facehugger.
True. It's all just alien. Corey, you got any more bits?
In the director's cut of the film, it is shown Ripley discovering that the Xenomorph had taken Brett and Dallas to a nest where they were slowly being turned into the alien eggs. This happened while she was trying to escape during the self-destruct sequence. It kind of answers one of the plot holes in the film, which is, well, we never found Brett or Dallas's body. What happened to them? Well, this is what happened to them. They were being turned into the eggs, which was supposed to show that this is where the alien came from. This species is just self-reliant like that. It's able to change molecular structures of its victims into hatching more of these facehuggers. Now, this is not considered canon because in the sequel, 1986's Aliens, the Xenomorphs are shown to have a queen that lays the eggs instead.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And I like it. I don't think we needed any body horror in this, in all honesty. I think that this touched enough on what it needed to touch on horror-wise. And I think that would have just been made it too... It felt like a throwaway moment, honestly, you know?
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't really come up again. No one ever questions, well, wait, where do these eggs come from? How does it... blah, blah, blah. No one asks that question.
Yeah, we didn't need to know that.
Little bits!
Oh, just a little bit.
All right, folks, now it's time for everybody's favorite segment.
The Untitled Ben Affleck segment?
That's right, Steve. It's As Played by Ben Affleck.
Untitled Ben Affleck segment.
Now, for those who've never listened in, As Played by Ben Affleck
The Untitled Ben Affleck segment
is when we take a character from the film that we just watched to replace with Ben Affleck. Now, there are 3 eras of Ben Affleck that we have to choose from, so we choose a character to replace with Ben Affleck, what era and why. First off, we have the Good Will Hunting era Ben Affleck, which is where he is the indie darling and just starting to get into action films. Next up, we have the Jiggly era Ben Affleck, which is the rom-com starting around the release of the Jiggly film. Then we have Batfleck era Ben Affleck, where he's older, more chiseled, and got that beautiful salt and pepper beard. Now, with that being said, Steve, who are you replacing with Ben Affleck? What era and why?
I'm going to be replacing Ash with Gigli era Ben Affleck. Because I feel like that was the height of his smarminess, and it would just be super satisfying to see his head get knocked off his body. And also, I feel like he would really pull off the taunting at the end.
With the frosted tips and everything. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. Like a real robot. Corey, who are you replacing with Ben Affleck, what era, and why?
I am going to go the funny route, and I'm going to choose to replace the alien also with Jiggly era Ben Affleck. I just like the idea of him quickly coming out of the shadows and everyone screaming.
Now, is he wearing a costume or no?
He's wearing the costume he wore in Jiggly.
Oh, God.
So the bowler shirt and like the cat and like the slacks, yeah, no, the whole 9 yards. Like, just let's just play this up entirely for people like, oh God, no, not like this.
I'd watch that.
We could make it happen. The technology is there. We could actually make that happen, but I can't afford the technology, so we're gonna have to just dream about it.
I feel like I could probably do it if I put my mind to it. Like you said, the alien's only on screen for 4 minutes.
You know what, Steve? I think you can do anything that you put your mind to.
Aw, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, except for eating plutonium. Don't do that.
Oh, it may be too late for that.
All right, folks, that was As Played by Ben Affleck.
Oh, the Untitled Ben Affleck segment.
And moving on to our final question of the pod, which is, of course, Steve, would you watch this film again?
Oh, absolutely. I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. This is my favorite horror movie. It is just gripping from start to finish. There's so much going on that, yeah, I love it. I love it so much. I would watch this tomorrow. Corey, would you watch this again?
See, I don't know if I would watch this again. And that's an absolutely false statement. I would totally watch this film again. It is so good and has kicked off one of the most fascinating franchises, in my opinion, at the very least. One thing I really love about sci-fi film or just franchises in general, I love world building. Character development is cool, but like when you build a world and you start showing us more and more rules about this and you expand upon it in ways that are honestly believable at the end of the day, like, yeah, the rest of the alien films after Aliens tend to get a little weird with it. And I'll be honest, I don't like 3 and I don't like Resurrection all that much, but what they do to evolve the alien story all makes sense at the end of the day. And of course, it all starts with this one film. To me, it works from beginning to end. The characters are fun. The writing is smart. The sound is impeccable. Everything here hits on all cylinders. So, yeah, I would absolutely watch this film again. And folks, that's going to wrap up 1979's Alien.
Hey, we did it.
You know, Steve, I'm really happy that this is over, only because I don't have to feel so spaced out. I can just stare off into the distance and safely daydream to my heart's content. And of course, Steve, I have to ask, like, what are we doing next time?
Well, those dreams may be in peril, because next episode, we are tackling Nightmare on Elm Street. I've never seen it before. Should be fun.
That's right, folks. 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street, one of the OG slasher characters. We are finally going to be tackling this here for you. And of course, written and directed by the wonderful Wes Craven. But until then, I'll see you all in my nightmares, because I've been Corey.
And I'm Steve.
Bye!
Bye! None of that back alley hot sauce. You gotta save the cat.